We know how important your time is, and we want to give you every opportunity for valuable information we want to share. This is our special edition Central Region COVID Big Bang webinar number 7 in the series. We call it a special edition because we're allowing our vendor RedCap to provide us with information for our Central Region dealers. Our agenda is basically, I want to cover a couple things, and that's our Central Region, and give you something that's happening, give you information on what's happening in our region as well as the industry, and then go through the presentation by RedCap, which is powered by Lyft, and talk about Shuttle on Demand via their certified DMS integration. It's branded for Kia, it's billed monthly, and it's the loaner alternative. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A discussion. If you do have questions as we go through this, you can go to the chat button in Zoom and chat, or in this case, text Jack Sparling, who's our senior DPSM out of Cleveland. His phone number is there as well as his email if you have questions. And then moving down, first I want to start off with and let everybody know, we just received the press release yesterday from J.D. Powers, hot off the press, right? Kia is #1 again, 6th year in a row, and we're the highest ranked, tied with Dodge, but this is our 6th consecutive year of the highest ranked mass market brand in initial quality. So we've got a lot to be proud about. It's not just the Central Region, it's not just any of the other regions, it's our dealer body that makes that happen. And we want to say thank you and congratulations, because it's a team win for Kia without a doubt. Moving over into the service volume for the Central Region, and I want to let everyone know that our 7-day year-over-year, meaning the last 7-day year-over-year customer pay repair order analysis, you can see that we've got 3 states that are positive compared year to year. And that's important to understand because we know our traffic counts are coming back, and coming back in a great way, except for 1 state out of the 13 we have. Everybody is significantly outpacing the industry, meaning that all the other stores that are out there are being outpaced. Or we're outpacing the other competitors. So that's important, but we're also outpacing the rest of the country too. So we're starting to see traffic in volumes that we've seen previously. So, but this is also causing us to have issues, and this is our perfect storm. We call the perfect storms brewing. Customer pay repair orders traffic is up. We know that. You've seen that on the last screen. Customers have been sequestered for 3 months, over 3 months in some cases, and
does have some interference.
Hang on 1 second. There we go. And then as states begin to reopen, the pent-up demand is coming back to the business, and they're coming back into the marketplace now. So we're starting to see customers come in that we haven't seen before. And that's important that we start looking at what's happening, right? So we know dealers are still ramping up their service staffing, and many stores are short-staffed. And this has caused some actually very critical elements of happening at the service drive, where service consultant, the critical service department, service consultant touch points are being impacted. Our time to greet scores in our region, the lowest we've had all year. Our kept informed scores, lowest we've had all year too. So those customer touch points, those service consultant customer touch points are impacting our scores, impacting your scores, impacting long-term retention, and impacting everything that's happening with customers. Dealers were considered essential business and now have been dealing with customers that have been used to being sequestered. And since you've been used to the environment, the dealers have been used to the environment that you're in, with and without masks, customers are being slighted. So the overall customer sentiment we know right now is negative, not just for automotive, but for everything, especially considering that you're starting to see other states start increasing in the counts of COVID positive tests. And we're starting to see the spike increase now across the country. And customers are starting to feel slighted when visiting stores. The employees are not taking into account their safety. And we've got thousands of examples on our verbatim around the region showing that customers want to be kept safe. Whether or not we think it's their right or not, it's what the customer's thoughts are. So how do we combat these issues? How can we increase revenue while satisfying customers? And how can we alleviate the influx of customers coming into the store? Because if we're not ramped up, we can't handle that volume of customers, and it's making them upset. How can we better communicate with the customer? Customers aren't being communicated with because they're busy. Service consultants are busy taking care of most of that volume that's coming in the door. And how can we better forecast that workload and stretch the workload across the entire week without burdening the stores right off every morning at 7:30, 7 o'clock in the morning when you're getting the influx of customers? Well, the first thing we got to do is determine what the customer's expectations are. You can only do that by, one, finding out what they really are, and that's communicating with the customer before they come in the store. And then two is communicate. And that's just not communication before, but communication during the entire process. And then number three is offer pickup and delivery or alternate means of the vehicle getting to and delivered back to the customer. Those are important. And you can see by our score alone, just in vehicle service delivery, from January to now, we're at our lowest score we've seen in the last 6 months. So we've got to do something different. And that's one reason why we asked RedCap to come in. So it's not just Kia, but it's the industry. So this is the article that I just pulled from the June Fixed Ops Journal from Automotive News. And they've got perfect examples of several dealers that are out there that are doing the pickup and delivery. And I want to point out some of the things that they talked about. The biggest benefit that they're reporting is increased customer satisfaction, which is what I just talked about, higher retention rates of customer, bigger profits from higher dollar repair orders, basically, more technician labor hours sold, and smoother and more consistent flow of the work. Again, everything we talked about is what we're trying to combat issues with. This is an opportunity to look at it in a different way. So for all the dealers, without saying you have to use RedCap or find a solution, these are things to consider when you are going to offer the pickup and delivery. Is one that, getting a customer survey and figuring out what's going on. And then is it solo or turnkey? And that's why we have RedCap again. And then do you split the different types of systems that you're using? Whatever you figure it out that needs to be done, you've got to make sure that, one, you're able to charge a fee if you need to for pickup and delivery. We do have dealers that are doing that. They've incorporated those expenses into their operations so that every customer is offered that opportunity. So, and then without further ado, I'm going to thank you, everybody. Appreciate your patience, but go ahead, Ken.
Can you see my screen? You see Shuttle on Demand in front of you right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. It's amazing. I want to apologize to everybody. This is a challenge with utilizing Zoom and Skype and GoToMeetings, just too many of them out there. So Rex, thank you so much for jumping in. I don't really know what you discussed all there, but I'll kind of get this at 30,000 foot level. We'll get into the actual software and so forth. But I'm sure
Ken,
as Rex,
Ken, I just gave them a verbal overview of the benefits. That's all.
Okay. So there's really two pieces here, right? Let's first start with our Lyft integration with Shuttle on Demand and Parts on Demand, right? Shuttle on Demand is really about nothing more than moving people to and from the dealership. And then Parts on Demand is nothing more than moving parts to and from the dealership. And it's literally that simple. Shuttle on Demand is really more about the dealers being more efficient with their customers, not relying upon shuttle vans, eliminating the cost and the liability associated with shuttle vans. And Parts on Demand is very similar, eliminating parts trucks, drivers, all the costs associated with parts trucks, as well as the liability as well. So that's the basic premise behind this. Obviously, Lyft is our partner, as Rex has alluded to. I'll get into to the software here in a moment. Aside from Rex being on the call, we also have Walt Zeeler on the call as well. And I'll send this over to Walter after the call, but I want to make sure that everybody from Kia has Walt's contact information, same with Rex, the territories that they respectively cover, as well as myself. And any of us can reach out and help any of you and your dealers at any time. So I'll get that over after the call as well. So a couple of things here on the slide deck. I mentioned this briefly, but I'll show this on the actual software in a moment. I can send this deck over later as well, so we don't spend a lot of time just going through the deck, since we've spoken a little bit about this as well. But again, Shuttle on Demand is really nothing more than moving people to and from the dealership and getting away from the old school shuttle van model, if you will. Everything is white labeled, as you see here. Everything is done via text link. So the customer doesn't need to have the Lyft app. dealership personnel don't need the Lyft app. Everything is done via text. When the customer clicks on that text link, everything is going to be branded per the Kia dealership, all the messaging from the Kia dealership, yet the consumer still gets to see who that Lyft driver is, the vehicle they're driving, and where they're at in the process. All right. Some basic numbers, aside from eliminating a shuttle van or shuttle vans and all the cost and all the liability associated with it, one of the biggest benefits of getting that customer out of the dealership, out of the customer waiting lounge, and back to their home or back to their office in a quick, efficient manner is that consumers spend additional money. How much more do they spend on average per RO? Nationwide, $193. That's substantial. That's substantial when you consider that the average Lyft trip one-way nationally is $13. If you consider a round trip at 26, and I had the opportunity to pick up an additional gross of $193, that's very, very impactful for a dealer. The basic premise behind this is really, really simple. The worst customer at the dealership is a service waiter. Why? Because they're pressed for time, and because they're pressed for time, historically they spend considerably less money than consumers that aren't pressed for time. If you think about a waiter that's come into the dealership, they came in for that LOS special, they've been there, they were told 45 minutes, but they've been there for an hour and a half. That's just the nature of the beast. And here comes the ASM. Hey Rex, great news. Got your LOF all done. However, we found that your brakes are at X percentage, and we'd really recommend replacing them right now. The first question out of that customer's mouth is going to be, how long? It's not going to be how much. It's going to be how long. And as soon as the advisor says, an hour, the customer knows it's going to be 90 minutes, 2 hours. We lose them right there, and we never even get into pricing. So if we eliminate that hurdle, get that customer out of there ASAP, back to their home, back to their office via shuttle on demand, we have a much better opportunity of upselling that customer and making it easy for them. I think Rex alluded to this. CSI is off the charts on this for all the simple reasons. I'll send this over as well. We've done a pretty extensive cost analysis on what a typical dealer shuttle van costs when you take into consideration all these expense factors. And there's an immediate savings when you look at a typical shuttle van versus rideshare. And for most dealers, this is great. But the biggest thing that the dealers love is the fact that they can actually transfer that liability away from the dealership and put that burden upon Lyft. That's what's most exciting and the thing they really, really love the most. All right. So we'll get off the slide deck. Let's get into the actual software. For those of you who haven't seen the software, if you want a deeper dive after this, please reach out to Rex. Please reach out to Walt. If I happen to be covering your territory, please reach out to me. We can do a one-on-one. We're happy to take not only yourself, but a dealer and/or dealers through multiple WebExes and show them anything and everything about the RedCap software. So real quick here, let me give you a quick sense as to what you're looking at in the screen in front of you. Across the top here on the black ribbon, everything we're going to talk about is going to be under the transportation module here. So this will be service valet, pickup and delivery, our Lyft integration and so forth. We'll get into the actual reporting suite that comes with this. We've built out, RedCap has built out our own online payment fulfillment. That's what the payments tab is here. We've built out our own texting platform as well. We refer to that as messages. We'll have our own online scheduling ready to go here shortly. So if you have dealers looking for other modules, other technology to help and support, and a big thing we're seeing right now is right here with payments. We're seeing a lot of dealers that want to get into contactless payment, right? And let the customer be the one inputting all their credit card information. So that is available as well. So I just brought up a number of dealers here you see in front of you, and just to give you an idea what you're looking at on the screen right now. These are all the drivers, all right? Wherever you see Lyft, this is going to be a shuttle on demand opportunity, and this is the actual Lyft driver. When you see SP, that means service pickup, right? So this is where, this happens to be Paragon Honda. A lot of you may have read about Paragon Honda in the news in recent months, and their pickup and delivery and what it's done specifically for their dealership. But a few things here. Aside from the driver, okay, here's all the customer information, all the vehicle information. And again, SP means service pickup. So this is where we're actually sending Jorge out to the consumer's home or office. If a loaner is not going to be involved, they can lift themselves out via a driver's app that they download to their smartphone. And we have built Lift within that driver's app so they can lift themselves out to that customer's home or office if a loaner is not going to be involved, retrieve that customer's vehicle, and bring it back into the dealership for service. Once it's been repaired, then we get into SD, a service delivery. So this is where we've now repaired the vehicle. We're going to return it back. Okay. You see these various times populating. These are all times that the drivers were scheduled to be at the various locations, whether it's the dealership, consumer's home or office, and or back at the dealership. The scheduled times across the top and what times across the bottom they actually arrived. All right. I can come in on any one of these, just as dealership personnel can, click on it. I get to see the route, in this case, 21.4 miles, how long it took, the various stop points along the way. In addition to that, here's the dealership. So in this case, this happens to be Willis Auto Campus. Quick story on this particular dealership. He is out of Des Moines, Iowa. A lot of people think that, hey, I'm in a rural market. I don't know if the rural market is really ready for pickup and delivery. He's based out of Des Moines, Iowa, and goes across 5 state lines picking up customers' vehicles. All right. And he's a great example of how to really do pickup and delivery effectively. And then right here is the actual customer, in this case, Lisa, and where we went to pick up this vehicle. All right. In addition to this, my little arrow icon right here, I can come in here behind the scenes and a few things. I get to see all the automated communications that went out through the platform to the consumer. Okay. If there was communication out to the driver, I would see that here. All right, but these are all the automated communications that went out to the consumer, keeping them apprised that, hey, your driver has left the dealership, your driver's en route, your driver will be arriving in 15 minutes, your driver's now in the driveway. All right, so that's what all these automated communications you see sitting here. These drivers are also tasked with taking photos. They will document any pre-existing conditions, scratches, dings, and so forth. They will document speedo as far as mileage on the vehicle, fuel levels, and we can even get into really breaking down, you know, the audit on this as far as each stop, how long each stop took, all the details of the trip, you know, plan versus actual. So it really helps the dealer get really efficient and making this as quick and as efficient as possible for the consumer. So let's get into specifically up here on this new tab. Let me show you within the RedCap transportation module exactly what's entailed. These are all the trip types available on the RedCap platform. If a dealership signs up for the RedCap platform, so an all-inclusive platform, they get every trip type you see available here in red within the platform, with the exception of personal driver. This happens to be something we do specifically for Lincoln Motor Company and Lincoln dealers on a national basis. But everything, whether it's on the sales side or the service side, is all-inclusive for one flat price every month. Anywhere where you see Lyft, shuttle on demand, roadside on demand, parts on demand, and Lyft credits. These can be broken out separately, and everything you see in Lyft, these 4 modules can be sold separately to the dealership. All right? To come in and book a trip, you see these dollar denominations right here. If we have a dealer that says, look, I love this, but I don't want to spend any more than $1,000 a month on this opportunity, just let us know that at the time of setup. We will build that $1,000 threshold into the technology. So every time the dealer comes in to book a trip, they know exactly where they're at on their spend. There's no surprises. So to come in and book this trip, I'm simply going to click on this. Dealers have the option to have DMS integration or not. Platform is designed to work either way. I'll tell you that with the Lyft integration product, probably 95% of our dealers nationally don't have DMS integration. So let's just assume for the sake of the demo that I do have DMS integration. I'm going to come in, I'm going to select my consumer, and let's assume that customer's brought their vehicle into the dealership. I need to give them a ride from the dealership back to their home or back to their office. These are the mandatory fields I need. Customer first name, last name, cell number. Where am I taking this customer today? I drop a digit, select my address. This is where we're taking the customer. All the Lyft trips populate down below. These are live and these are dynamic. So this is telling you driver availability is 5 minutes out and here's a corresponding cost. Most dealers ask us to remove all these additional options. So this is the only option dealership personnel see for obvious reasons. It's the least expensive. All right. We can send this out to the customer via text and they can book it when they are ready, and or we can book it on behalf of the consumer, either or. So let's assume I'm going to select regular Lyft. I click on it. Any driver notes? I'm going to select a user here. I'm going to agree to list terms of use. This is where I'm transferring the liability from that Kia dealership to Lyft. So Lyft is now taking control of that customer in a Lyft ride. Therefore, they own the liability as well. And then we go and we book this trip. And that's when, as soon as we go and book this trip, that's when the customer, is going to receive a white label text link. They're going to click on it when they open it up. This is all the details I mentioned earlier that they're going to see. Okay. And that's how easy booking these trips are. And if we're going to do a parts on demand, it's the same thing. I can deliver parts from my location. I can deliver parts to my location. I can deliver parts from another location to a secondary location. It doesn't have to be to and from my dealership. It can be from another point A to another point B, but it's the same premise here, same basic format. Let me jump into the reporting real quick, show you what that looks like. Am I okay on time, Walter?
Yes, you are.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And then we'll open this up to some Q&A here shortly. This reporting suite I'm going to show you, the dealer has access to this 24/7. It's always available to them at all times. This will take a second to load up, so I'm actually loading up the entire country here. So bear with me real quick. Let's pull up so I'm just going to bring up Tempe Kia, and here's what we get to see within the in the actual reporting. This is showing you they've done 184 trips month to date. How many year to date since coming on board? Here's the name of the dealership. If they have multiple rooftops and they want to have an enterprise view, they can certainly have that as well. Date, time of the trip. What type of trip was it? Shuttle on demand, I'm moving people. Parts on demand, I'm moving parts. So it'll actually list out what type of trip it was. A couple trip IDs. We use these internally at RedCap. Lyft uses them as well. If the dealership would like to use them, they can, but typically they will tie a specific RO number since that is a mandatory field to a specific trip. Here's the actual Lyft trip. What did it cost? You see this refund column. This exists because whatever price is quoted at the time of booking a trip, that price is guaranteed. So if the pricing was presented at $10, it ends up being $15, there's a $5 delta there. That shouldn't be the case. Technology will reflect that, it will catch that, and this is where the dealer gets refunded automatically. You can see out of the $10,000, this dealer has spent over 750 trips. There's been a very, very small number here. So it doesn't happen often, but the only reason this happens typically is because a driver, when they complete their trip, it didn't turn off their app, continues to run, it drives up an additional charge. So again, we will catch that. Scrolling on over here, a few additional items you'll get to see. You know, what type of lift trip was it? Regular lift, luxury, black. Who booked the trip initially, and was it the same person on the return trip? When did the trip start? When did it end? How many minutes? How many miles? All the customer information. If the dealer opted to have DMS integration, we would also pick up what the RO spin was, whether it was CP, internal, or warranty. Now, the dealer can certainly cross-reference their DMS and get this data. Some dealers like to have it right here at their fingertips. It shows them their immediate ROI. So again, up to what each individual dealer wants to do. Down here on the bottom, the booking tab is going to show you specifically who at the dealership, typically ASMs, that are booking these trips and how many they have booked for the month, and whether it's year to date or since inception. The Maps tab, this is a heat map. So this is going to show the dealer specifically where their customers are coming from. I'll blow this up a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. Each one of these dots represents a consumer. So I know this specific customer right here is 11.6 miles away. I know their city, zip, address, and even lat and long. It's a great little marketing tool. Where am I penetrating within my market? What other areas do I have additional opportunities within? You also have the option to survey your customers. These are the three basic questions we ask. Were you pleased with our shuttle? You would never see 98.8% of consumers say that I'm happy with a traditional shuttle van. But when it comes to shuttle on demand, lift integration, they like it a lot. Does it influence your decision to continue to do business with us? 83%. And most importantly, was it easier for you, Mr. Customer? This is the world we live in today. As a consumer, regardless of what the commerce is, if you don't make it easy and simple and frictionless for me, I will not do business with you. I'll go to somebody who will. That's a simple fact of the world we live in today when it comes to doing business. We will also record any customer verbatims under the testimony. And it's always the same comments. You know, it was great. It was easy. It was a lot better. Lot of great comments. And the table tab is going to show you specifically how many trips the dealer is doing month in and month out. Okay, so you can see when COVID really hit us in April, how they essentially fell by 50%, and now they're trekking back. And they're obviously going to have an all-time record here in June as well. So let me stop there real quick. When it comes to shuttle on demand, parts on demand, and the lift integration, are there any questions?
Actually,
Hey, Ken, I just want to add a point. On your trips screen, that is where the dealer can go to actually pull a quote-unquote invoice or show payment for a trip that qualifies for warranty. To your point, the cost of running your own shuttle is more expensive than using this lift program, but your own shuttle is not eligible for warranty reimbursement. This qualifies for warranty reimbursement. So it's another reason why there's a big benefit to take into consideration.
Yeah, and to that point, great point, by the way, is, you know, I can come in here as an example. If I want to get rideshare reimbursement, I can actually select this particular trip, or I can select, you know, a day's worth of trips, a week's worth of trip, a month's worth of trips. I can download this, and this download is going to give me all the detail that I need, right? So this happens to be Paragon Honda, customer information, vehicle information, how much was the trip cost, what was the mileage, pickup and drop-off times. Most OEMs are accepting this for rideshare reimbursement. This makes it really, really easy for the dealer. And to your point, it's very, very difficult. And most dealers don't even bother with it when it comes to attempting to get rideshare reimbursement through a shuttle van. It's either not available or it's just such a difficult task for them, they just don't want to do it. All right, so this is obviously something we've built out at the request of a lot of dealers and a lot of OEMs to make this rideshare reimbursement easy for all involved.
Hey, Ken,
Any other questions?
would
Yes.
the district managers have access to their dealers' information so that they could get a feel for overall performance levels at their stores, or is that at the discretion of the dealer?
You know, as long as the dealer is willing to give us permission, that the DPSMs can have essentially an enterprise view, we can set up, I mean, it's easy for us to set it up on our side, so they can have that enterprise view and see all their dealers and who's producing and who is not. We just need to make sure we get approval from the dealership.
Sounds good.
Hey Ken, another question that came up was for the rural areas, especially we've got several rural areas around our region. We have the 13 states. Is it possible to see how the coverage is for rural areas too? Say Holland, Michigan. I mean, I could go through all these different locales, but just say Holland, Michigan, which is a little more rural, right? What's the coverage for like Holland, Michigan?
Yeah, so that is something that myself and Rex and Walt can get on a case-by-case basis. It's something we need to go directly to Lyft corporate with. It's something we do routinely. You know, and I'll be very candid and share that, you know, when you look at rideshare, not only rideshare in general, but this includes Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, Postmates, you name it. If you go back to the end of March, really through April, these companies were absolutely decimated by COVID. There just weren't trips taking place for all the obvious reasons. What the first thing that came out of COVID was how important pickup and delivery is for essentially anything and everything. And I'll just speak for my own personal self here. When it comes to DoorDash, Instacart, or Postmates, or Uber Eats, or the same with Lyft, I personally have not left my home. I have not been in a market in 3 months to buy any groceries. And it's not because I hate it, I'm a guy, I'm opposed to it, I don't do it anymore. So I found out how easy pickup and delivery is, even though I live in this world on a daily basis on the automotive side. When you look at rideshare, we're seeing the numbers come back considerably. The ETAs are still longer than Lyft wants to see them at, but they are coming back down. So when we get into the rural markets, you will see the ETAs are a little bit longer than they will be obviously in a metro. But the good news is the volume counts are coming back, not only on the trip counts, but the ETAs are coming down as well.
Perfect. So let me ask you a question. So we've got a couple dealers in our region that are heavily using the RedCap system too, for both pickup and delivery. What are some of the average expenses that a dealer sees on a monthly basis? And let's talk about the volume stores, right? So what would you see in a typical store in a major metro, say, I don't know if you could do Chicago, but Cleveland maybe, or you don't have to say the name of the dealer, but give us an average expense of what a dealer would look like on a monthly basis.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a few answers on this. You know, first of all, when we're looking at the Lyft integration, right, the shuttle on demand, parts on demand, and so forth, the beauty of that product for a dealership is the cost structure. RedCap provides our software free of charge to the consumer, excuse me, to the dealership. There's no setup cost. There's no monthly subscriptions. There's no minimums. You pay for what you use. If we sign up a dealer and they don't use it, they don't owe anybody a penny. If they sign up and they use it 10 times next month for shuttle on demand, they're going to owe us for those 10 Lyft trips, whatever they equate to. Average Lyft trip is $13. So they would owe us $130 for the Lyft trips. And right below that on the invoice, you're going to see RedCap 10 trips times $1. We make $1 on every one of these trips. And it's not that this is a money maker for RedCap, obviously making $1 on every trip we book, but we're hopeful that this freemium model, if you will, the free model, will in someday turn into pickup and delivery or online payments or two-way texting, whatever the case may be. We hope somewhere down the road we can earn the dealers additional business. All right, so there's no reason for a dealer not to be on Shuttle on Demand. There's no cost. There's no credit card outlays, right? We invoice the dealer, a simple invoice. We pay Lyft on behalf of the dealership. So we try to make this turnkey and really, really simple. As far as, average cost, keeping in mind that the dealer has all the control here, right? So it's really up to the dealer. Hey, the average cost per trip is $13 nationally. We see the average dealer doing approximately 100 trips a month nationally. Do we have dealers that do 1,000+ trips a month pre-COVID? All day long. Do we have dealers that use it very sparingly? They do it 5 or 6 times a month. It's kind of all over the map, contingent upon the size, but some average numbers, 100 trips on average, and then a $13 cost factor on average when it comes to Shuttle on Demand. When we're talking about pickup and delivery, all right, now I brought up in front of you here, Cable Dahmer Kia. I had a conversation at your corporate office in Irvine, California, not too many months back, pre-COVID. One of the comments that came up from corporate was, I'm just not sure we have enough room in our RO values to really move the needle here, because we're seeing some incredible moves when it comes to Honda or Toyota or Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, all Nissan, all these different manufacturers. So here's Cable Dahmer, been on the program for some time. This is based on 233 valet trips, right? So this is where we're sending a driver out to the consumer's home or office, picking up the vehicle, bringing it back in, so the consumer does not have to visit the dealership. Look at what's happening here. We have this little box, this little spend metrics. Their average RO spend when service valet isn't utilized is $248 per RO. What happens when they use pickup and delivery? $506. We see this on a routine basis, not 103% on average, but you see right below it, national average 44%. Same premise as I talked about earlier with Shuttle on Demand. If we make this process simple and easy and frictionless and convenient for the consumer, they will spend the money. Customers are spending significantly more when we do just that. All right. We're also seeing service retention increase. Now they've already got a lift in service retention. And here's a prime example. 81%, or excuse me, 84% when service valet is utilized versus 58% when it's not. These are two metrics that any dealer would look at and go, wait a minute, why in the world am I not doing this? Why am I not offering this? And I think what's happening right now is there's a lot of dealers out there that there's been a lot of articles in automotive news, a lot of people talking about pickup and delivery, and a lot of dealers think they can just do it on their own. Keep something in mind. This platform does everything for the dealership. There's no need for them to go and hire a manager or pay an existing manager additional money to manage a pickup and delivery experience at the dealership. It's very difficult to do. There's a lot of nuances with the business. Buying the software so it manages everything for you is a heck of a lot cheaper than hiring a physical body to manage this. All right. Software cost, for RedCap, single point store, the cost is $8.99 a month. And we have a $1,000 setup, one-time setup charge, $8.99 a month. DMS integration is optional. It's recommended. So the dealer has access, as an example, to these metrics here. The DMS integration would be above and beyond the $8.99. If we get into multiple rooftops, we can certainly talk about some discounting on not only setup fees, but also on the price per rooftop as well. The average cost of a trip, this varies by dealership, it varies by region. We have access to a third-party driver network. They will charge, on average, anywhere across the country with the exception of California, on average about $23.50 per hour. And it's up to the dealership as to how far out they want to offer this service. They get to control within the technology here, the radius, as an example. I only want to offer this within my PMA. I only want to offer this within a 20-mile radius. They get to offer it certain days a week, certain hours a day. So they're in complete control. I always tell the dealers, you know, Mr. Dealer, you have a fixed expense with the RedCap software at $8.99 a month. You have a variable expense on the driver side that you are in 100% control of. I have dealers spending $3,500 a month on drivers. I have dealers spending $40,000 a month on drivers, whether they're outsourced drivers or the dealers using their own people.
So Ken, we've got two questions, and I'll address, we actually three questions. The first questions are kind of related. The shuttle on demand, the question here is, it's great, but the future is with third-party pickup and delivery, which you have available. So more specifics on this section would be great. Now, and then the question that comes behind that, and there's two parts here, one for us and one for you, is the dealer charging the customer for pickup and delivery, which we have seen dealers not necessarily charge for, but they're getting additional, they're increasing their revenue stream to pick up the costs, okay? So they are adding or building in the expenses of what they're billing out to the customer through their repair order. And that's where they're getting it. As far as warranty reimbursement, Tony, we haven't considered that because it's a customer pay for the most part, but Uber and Lyft, we do the reimbursements on regardless. And I shouldn't say Uber, I apologize, guys. But anyway, we do have that reimbursable through the warranty system already for that. So to Tony's question, Ken, basically they want more specifics. And do you want to handle that on an individual basis between the account rep and the individual dealer, or?
Yeah, I think that would be best case. And I agree with the question, the statement that the future is pickup and delivery, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, everybody on this call right now is a consumer, right? If we all take our auto hats off, we all are doing business with those companies that make it simple and easy and frictionless for us. And probably most of us are utilizing pickup and delivery, regardless of COVID, just because it just makes our lives so much easier. And every consumer wants their time back. The beauty of the RedCap platform, it's up to each individual dealer within the transportation module here to what extent you're going to utilize rideshare and to what extent you're going to utilize pickup and delivery. So as an example, you take somebody like Paragon Honda when it comes to pickup and delivery, who's in the news every day about how well they do. They use rideshare. They use our Lyft integration only to get drivers to and from the dealership. Otherwise, they don't use it. They don't want customers bring their vehicles in. They want the drivers bring those vehicles in because they know all the benefits associated, Walter, that you just went through with additional RO increases, additional service retention, and reducing loaner fleet and loaner cost if they would be involved, and so forth. So it's really up to each individual dealer as to how much of these modules they truly want to use. But I agree 100%, pickup and delivery is where it's at going forward.
Yeah. The next question is, I'm a little confused when you were just talking about, I thought he said there was no setup fee and no software fee and no maintenance fees. And you only pay for what you use. And then you were talking about the setup. I believe the fees you were mentioning in the $8.99, was that directly related to the DMS integration, or was that? no setup fees period for the on-demand shuttle, correct?
Yeah, so let me clarify. Anything with Lyft, we will provide the software free of charge, and no subscriptions or setups, none of that. If the dealer's only going to utilize the Lyft integration, i.e. shuttle on demand, parts on demand, roadside on demand, and Lyft credits, they only pay for what they use. If we're going to get into pickup and delivery of a customer's vehicle, then that's where we're going to have the $8.99 a month. We're going to have a setup charge and optional DMS fees on top of that.
Okay, perfect. That I figured was you were explaining the two differences, two parts of the program, right? Pickup delivery. Correct. And also with the on-demand. So in the separation between the two, perfect. Another question's come up too, is sorry for the questions. Tony, don't apologize. So sorry for all the questions, but CDK already offers a program through Lyft, which includes all the things that were mentioned. What are the differences? I don't know if you're aware between what CDK offers through Lyft and what we're trying to offer through RedCap, which is integrated with the DMS systems, right?
So the CDK program with Lyft is called Hailer, is the program you're referencing. And on the CDK side, they, even though they are quote unquote the DMS, they are going to still charge their dealers if they want to have DMS integration. On their side, it's optional, just as it is optional on our side.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing, if you speak with dealers that have been on even Lyft Concierge, Lyft's own commercial platform, Uber Central, same thing, or any of the other third parties that are out there offering some type of rideshare integration, there's always two things that come up when myself and Rex and Walt speak with the dealers who have used other programs, which is one, the ease of use within the RedCap platform, and two, the reporting suite. They love the reporting that comes with this, and it's very easy for them to reconcile statements versus the consolidated statement that we send out. So those are typically the two biggest things we hear.
Perfect, and that's good. And we can always get Walt, and I believe Walt, to call Tony and talk to Tony too about it, but directly. But another question's come up from Josh. The setup fee for the pickup and delivery, was it $1,000, he questioned?
It is $1,000, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then Josh, if you have more questions, I know if you have questions on this, everybody, you can get directly to your DPSM and we'll connect you with the right individual that supports the region, since there are 3 reps for RedCap nationally. They're all on the call, by the way, just so you're aware, Rex, Walt, and then also Ken. But Walt covers most of our region as well from the 13 states, but we'll just verify that. So we'll get that contact information out to you. Jack, do you have any other questions or any questions that have come through? Jack Sparling. I'm assuming we don't have any other questions that have come through.
Can you hear me now, Walt?
Yep.
Yeah, there are no other questions.
All right, perfect. Well, listen, I appreciate everybody taking the time. If there are no other questions, we'll terminate the call, and appreciate everybody taking the time, and we'll be forwarding this information and it will be posted to our YouTube channel, and I know our district managers will provide that out for everybody's use. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate
Thanks
it.
for joining.
And, stay safe out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Walt. Thanks, Jerry.
Got it.
Take care, guys.
Be safe, guys. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Rex.
Thank you.